All right, we're in for some musical treats. Definitely when Spencer picks, it's episode 450. The fine music. Take it away, Spence.
Alrighty. Okay, so the first one is the aforementioned beabadoobee song. It is called Beaches. And I like a lot of the stuff that beabadoobee has done. A lot of it kind of has like a 90s female alt rock vibe to me. This song is no exception. It reminds me a lot of like some of the softer No Doubt songs, like Don't Speak, Simple Kind of Life, stuff that Gwen did in the mid to late 90s. Um, It even has sort of like a grungy 90s distortion, albeit kind of light and breezy. Even the song itself is kind of 90s, even though, we're like 2 decades past that. Um, the song is about like uncertainty and self-consciousness, from what I can tell. And as per usual, Biabadoobie captivates in this song. And that's what I like about her music, as well as the fact that she can sort of dip into many different styles. I mean, her biggest hit so far, The Perfect Pair, that's almost kind of like ukulele style folk rock. In fact, it reminds me a lot of what Sparrow has done, who has been featured on the show a few times. Yabadoobie is sort of roughly the same genre with that song. And then next song is Bright Lights by The Killers. And the Killers had a song earlier this year called Spirit. I couldn't really get that much into it. It was too synthy for my taste. I like it better when the Killers have that sort of thing where it's like the same kind of thing that the Police did in the early 80s, where they had like a combination of synth and guitar. I like it better when the Killers do that, and they do that in this song. One of their biggest influences, the Killers, is Bruce Springsteen. And you can really tell that in this song. The lyrics romanticize Las Vegas the same way that Bruce does New Jersey. There's a very bright, crisp kind of acoustic guitar sound and shimmering synths, and a very dynamic electric on top of that, very Springsteen-esque. And there's even a sax solo in the song that kind of reminds me of the stuff that like Clarence Clemons used to do for the E Street Band. And so this song really kind of brings back to mind like the reason I became a Killers fan in the first place. Like they were huge in 2004 with Mr. Brightside, which I got into later on, but at the time it came out, I wasn't that into it. Their 2006 record with When You Were Young, instant fan, because it reminded me a lot of like the Springsteen and U2 stuff, and I'm a big fan of both of those. So this is a song that kind of it just makes the Killers the Killers. Reminds me of why I fell in love with their music in the first place. Next one is Coast by Kim Deal from The Breeders and the Pixies. And this one's interesting because it doesn't sound like either one of those bands. It doesn't sound all kind of grungy Gen X alt rock like what she's known for. Instead, it has almost like a loungy kind of sound, kind of half lounge and half folk rock, very heavy on the trombones. And I noticed that she does a little vocal tribute to Blondie in the song, very subtle. A little hard to hear it unless you really like dig into it, but the way she sings the two something kids on the coast, that's almost practically note for note of Sunday Girl for Blondie. She kind of steals the notes there, but in a playful manner. Giving Up by Michigander is my next one. That's Michigan with a D-E-R at the end. Michigander are an interesting group. A lot of their stuff kind of a bit like the Killers. It reminds me of sort of a U2 Latter-day Springsteen kind of thing. This one's interesting because it doesn't remind me of either one of those. Instead, it kind of sounds like Billy Joel. Specifically, It's Still Rock and Roll to Me. It kind of sounds a little like that. The beat is similar, and so is the key. And the song seems to be about like a road trip, just kind of life on the road musically, and songs like that can be pretty fun. The first one I usually think of for road trip songs, concert songs, usually Jackson Browne, Running on Empty. The Loadout doesn't bear that much similarity to Jackson Browne musically, but lyrically, I guess it kind of does. Next one is Nobody's Soldier by Hozier. Man, this is a powerful one. Very, very timely for the tumultuous 2020s. And this is one of Hozier's more fiery tracks. It just comes on like gangbusters. And it has like a descending D minor thing where it goes like something like that. I'm saying it faster than it actually is, but it's roughly those notes. And it's kind of, I would say it's like a musical child or grandchild of Fortunate Son by CCR, at least in terms of the lyrics. Just somebody like not surrendering to the political status quo. Hozier is his own man. And I don't know if he's protesting what's going on in Ireland or in the US. He is a native Irish person, so I don't know what he's protesting, but it could be stuff that's going on in his native country, but it applies, I feel like it applies just as much to what's going on in the US right now. And the very last song, but not least, is Old Tape by Lucius. Probably should put their name in here. That's how to spell it. CIUS, not TIUS. And it features Adam Granduciel from the War on Drugs. You can just put War on Drugs in there, even though it's just the one guy. This is actually not the first time that War on Drugs and Lucius have collaborated. They first collaborated in 2021 on a War on Drugs record on the song I Don't Live Here Anymore. War on Drugs, once again, kind of like the Killers and Michigander, War on Drugs have that whole kind of U2 Latter-day Springsteen kind of influence. I guess I'm choosing a lot of guys that sound like this week. But what can I say? I love that sound. I love how dynamic but melodic it is. It's very heartfelt too, and I like music like that. This is clearly a War on Drugs influenced song, even though it's credited to Lucius, because it has all the basic elements, the shimmering synth and dynamic electric guitars. Oh, I have heard of that song. I've heard of Thinking of a Place. Probably my favorite War on Drugs song. I love the stuff they did in their 2017 album. Pain and Holding On are both great songs. 11 minutes long. Yeah, they do that sometimes. Under the Pressure is about 8 minutes long, not to be confused with Under Pressure by Queen. Different songs. But yeah, aside from the sound of the song, Old Tapes by Lucius and War on Drugs also has a cool lyrical message. It's basically like negative self-talk, but the lead singer, her name is Holly, says that she'll just turn it off instead. And again, just like the last song, it's a very timely message for these tumultuous, turbulent, trying 2020s. Those are my picks for the week. Thank you for having me.
I was when you brought up the Killers, it took me back to high school in the early days when they rose in the scene and everybody was all into them heavily every time. And you know, the singer Brandon Flowers, I believe that's his name, right?
Yeah, that's his name.
At first I thought, are they British? Because he had that British accent at that first album, but then the second album came and he lost it completely. He just went straight.
Wow, I never thought about that, but you're right.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that you had. Yeah, he kind of does have that.
Because the way it's certain pronunciations that he sounded very British. I thought, I'm like, okay, this is like the next British band, like Oasis or Blur, but no. The second album came out, Sam's Town, and I go, wait a minute, did he lose his British accent or is he American? So I had to do research and he was American. He just, I don't know why he sounded that way he did on the first album, but it just takes me back to those old days. And I'm glad that the Killers are going strong even today.
Yeah, they are. And you're talking about like the days with Mr. Brightside and all that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
was in, wow, you must be near my age because I was in high school during that time too. I
yeah,
was in 2004. I'm pretty good at memorizing numbers. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I was 16 back then.
yeah, yeah.
War on Drugs, thinking of a place. I think I must have listened to that. First time I heard it, I had to listen to it like 5 times in a row because it is such a very cool song with great lyrics. And it's an 11-minute song, but it's one of those things where it could have lasted longer and it would have been
Wow.
a problem. I just really enjoy that. That's a great song. It's a great song.
Yeah, the funny thing about songs that last like past 5 minutes or they go into 6 minutes and beyond, I used to love like a lot of those when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I kind of am not as into some of those now, but there are a few exceptions. And I mentioned Bruce Springsteen 3 times here. Here's a fourth. Jungle Land by Bruce Springsteen is an epic. I love that song, and it's almost 10 minutes long.
Yeah. So it's thinking of a place. It is an epic. And it's just impressive. It could have lasted like 2 minutes, you know what I mean? Or 20, just awesome.
Yeah, wow. No, there's very few songs like that around. It's kind of hard for me to listen to all of Under the Pressure. I usually skip like the parts that are kind of ambient and spacey, and I go straight for the ones that are more kind of like they feel more like a rock or alternative song. But even at that, I get like 6 minutes of the song, and it's still good.
Cool.
Spencer, hold my beer.